16th of January, 2026. It's the Mere Mortalites. Well, Mere Mortals here. You are the Mere Mortalites. Kyron here.
Welcome back, Juan here.
And this is going to be a real Meanderings episode, aka one where we just bring up whatever's on our mind, what's been happening these last couple of weeks. I've had some interesting experiences with a flashback to the old days of the internet. And
Flashback of the old?
Yeah, and how it's being reinvigorated in a new style.
Okay.
And maybe it can be a good discussion about why nothing is really new. Everything is just a repurposing of the old,
rehash
in a different way. And yeah, I guess I'll just start off with that. Did you ever hear of the $1 Million homepage?
Yes, I did. Yeah, this is the one where basically a guy was selling pixels or something like equivalent, very small, and selling basically ad space for people to be able to do it. And it was $1, and he had 1 million pixels or 1 million spaces. And then he was able to sell out every single space and make $1 million.
Yep, nailed it. He actually made a little bit more because I think he auctioned off the last 38 spaces for...
more than $1.
More than $1.
Okay.
So for like 38 the price or something. Yeah, so you pretty much nailed it. So it was a 1,000 by 1,000 grid of pixels, aka 1 million. And this was, I believe, just in the 2000s at some point. And you can still go to it now.
Oh, really?
And it's actually a really good example of two things. One is the hype of just things getting sorry, just to clarify, he was selling them in 9 by 9 sections as well. That's how much so you had to buy $9 at a time. So you couldn't get individual pixels. It had to be like clumpings.
Clumpings of it.
And you can still go to it now. Still looks kind of pretty interesting, but also like, goddamn, does that look like the
old school internet?
Early-ish internet? And it's a great example of link rot. So apparently 60% plus of the links in there,
which is still like dead,
are dead. Which would imply that the companies are also dead that were advertising on this thing.
Maybe, yep.
And there was all this stuff where it was like, like free something. It was always free something. It could be free internet usage or free domains or free just random shit, which you'd now look at and be like, you don't need any of these things anymore.
like technology or things are just like, they're obsolete now.
Yeah. And it's also just a good example of like the hype cycle, because I was trying to like dig into it a bit, and from what I gather, it just took a long time for like, some pixels to sell out, and then just as soon as the bandwagon happened, like they sold out very quickly. So it was real, the exponential curve. So there is a modern equivalent of this, and this is where I go like, how easily replicable are ideas and people just kind of stealing things from the past. So in my explorations of X402, I was telling you about Monopoly, the X402 Monopoly, which finished. So, had a bit more free time because I wasn't like spending time playing.
Finished?
The season 1 finished.
Oh, okay. So it's actually, so it's not like an ongoing thing.
They might do, yeah. We'll find out.
Interesting.
And so I had a bit more time looking at like what other cool like things that have been built in X402. And so there's one called X402 Wall, which is essentially the equivalent of the $1 Million homepage. Sure. So someone's created that, but with a lot more functionality now that you can do, because it's not the early internet. So I've got it up here. I'll show it to the camera really quickly. I'll zoom in. You can kind of see there's a lot of blank space on this wall so far. I'll pass it over to Juan. He can play with it. And basically, they've sold 33,000 of these pixels. And I'm doing something which I'd like to know how ethically dubious you think what I'm doing here is. Okay. So in this one, you can buy 1 pixel at a time. So people are actually creating a much more interesting, elaborate patterns than they were before. So, there's like one where it's like a snaking thing. A guy spelt out his name using individual pixels, like spaced far apart, and taking up a lot more space, for example. And at the moment, there's like a whole hoarding of pixels right in the center. and then some people have taken the corners, but there's just a lot of blank space out in the openness. And so my idea is like, all right, I'm willing to spend like $100 on a theory, and essentially I am going to domain squat or like be a rent seeker. You know, a lot of people, if you hear about like the
ethos, like take up big space and then rent it out.
No. In the opposite, in fact. So, you know, a lot of the ethos of crypto is like disintermediating rent seekers, for example. Like all these like financial institutions like Visa or whatever, like their take rates are crazy, or Facebook, or, you know, Google's got its, Apple's got its 30% tax for any app that tries to build on them and things like this. So a lot of it's about like breaking monopolies and, stopping people doing like questionable behavior. Well, my questionable behavior is I'm like, all right, so let's say this thing takes off and it has as much virality and success as the original wall. And I'm like, yeah, it could happen. You know, they've already sold 3% of it. There's a biggest name, Coin Market Cap, bought a, you know, 40 by 40 section, I think here. I think it was 40 by 40. Let's go onto it and see. So there is like some, you know, virality aspect to it. And what I'm thinking is like, all right, say someone wants to buy, someone bigger comes in, a Coinbase, a CoinGecko, or maybe even just like one of the big blockchains, or someone really wanting to spend some money, and they don't even have to spend that much because, you know, 40 by 40, that's I think it was a bit bigger. Like the biggest block on here was someone spent $4,000 on it. Okay. So if someone wanted to buy a 100 by 100, so that'd be 10 grand. So that would be like 1% of the wall that they're taking up.
Yep.
I'm like, I think there's a reasonable chance of that happening. So if I buy 1 pixel in every 100 by 100 space, so I'm essentially like domain squatting that space.
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
And then you can resell your pixel on. And so I'm going to mark it up to like $100. So I'm like, you know, if they're spending 10 grand, they probably wouldn't mind spending 10,000.
Oh, yeah, I see. I get you.
And so if I do that and I could make like a return on investment, just one company needs to buy, or one person needs to buy 100 by 100 space. And if I've blocked out because all it would take is $100 for me to get $1 one pixel in every of the 10 by 10 100 spaces available. What do you think of that strategy? Would it work? Is it questionable? In terms of the
questionable? No, because there's no the constraint of rules aren't there for that. So like it's totally acceptable.
So if you want
totally
to do it,
doable.
you can. Yeah.
My risk return thought of that though is I think you're going to get nobody that's going to be bidding for that. In fact, it'll be, if it was viral enough, I could see it working, but unless there's already a proven 10,000 size of people going for it, I could see, let's just say a CoinSpot or something, maybe having the idea, hey, we should put something like this up, and going, oh, actually there's no space because someone's already got this one. Do we have to bid for it? But don't worry about it. Leave it alone.
Yeah. It relies on me being the only one doing this strategy, or because if you know, someone could replicate this and buy a pixel right next to yours, on all of them, if they chose not to list their pixel as well,
then it kills that. Yeah,
then it's unable to buy. So at the moment, someone can buy it because I've got it listed, and so all they have to do is just pay the extra little.
I mean, it's an interesting theory that you could play out for $100 just to see
I'm like,
see if it works out.
So at the moment, I've done it for like just the really big spaces. I haven't. So I think I bought like $14 worth of pixels.
Yep.
But I am tempted to like, I'm keeping track of it. So I've got like these daily metrics, like how many pixels have been bought, How well is the
okay.
the
That's
marketing of the marketing doing?
Yeah, I think
I'm also like, it would just tickle me pink because the whole point of this thing is, well, the original one was, it was all about advertising. Like, get your advertising space on the $1 million homepage, and you could say like, I was on the $1 million homepage, and like, it probably was a decent return on investment because you remember it from that time. So it was obviously pretty successful in terms of drawing eyeballs to it. The guy who has created it has said that the average time spent on site is like 4 minutes or something. So
there's quite a bit. Decent time
and it is fun because like you zoom into places. You're like, oh, what's this one? You can have like mini discussions. There's a lot of things you can do on it with like leave comments. You can like promote your thing even more by using like an extra token that's associated with it to like boost it. So there's a whole lot of things you can do with it. There's a lot of functionality
in the new one.
In this current one. So that's something I've been like playing around with, seeing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'd be interested to know whether like something like, what's his name? I forget his name, but he basically, there's a lot of people who say this. History doesn't repeat, but the way people react do. So I could see similar reactions for humans and like, oh, hey, it's another wall. But I've heard of the wall concept being done semi-non-digitally as well. Like I've seen people doing it on shirts. I've seen people do it for cars.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, someone can tell me if we're listening live, it's never worked again in that format. Like it's never been as successful or filled in. In fact, if you look at really like large industries or like so sports, Formula One for an example, unless you're one of the really top players, like top car teams like a Ferrari, Red Bull, etc., even they have trouble actually filling their livery. And of course, they charge a ridiculous amount of money, but they struggle to put in all of the various things into the cars. So,
really, what do you mean by struggle? Like,
so as an example, Cadillac, who's coming on to 2027 Formula One, they kind of released hey, we're going to get advertising all around the car. And I think at the last I've checked, they've got some spots filled, but not all of the spots filled. And if they don't get all the spots filled, they put Cadillac stuff or other things within, and they like a brunt of money that goes into servicing cars from a main, like for the season, is done by advertising.
Yeah.
So the likes of the Ferrari or Red Bull, maybe Aston Martin, what's the other, like another big one, McLaren, they've always got a full livery. They've always got people battling away for advertising space. But some of the lower known ones, if you actually look at the car itself, they've got less ads on the cars. Same, and Cadillac being a brand new one, I believe they haven't sold all the spots, nor do they have like a main title sponsor, which costs, someone check this, I think it's like $70 million or something like that. Like it's ridiculous money. But I've seen that behavior where putting livery on cars, let's just say, even though it's super popular, can be difficult. But I've seen that concept of the million, like a similar thing, but on shirts. I've seen people do shirts and cars and never filled the demand that they've needed. And I don't know if it's because it's been done before and it becomes like it's kind of cool until it doesn't, and it just passes away like a bit of a fade and be like, whatever.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm surprised by the cars because
I was surprised by the cars too.
I look at F1, there's just so much stuff on so much shit just covering all of these things. So I would have thought.
Yeah, so for people, they should have an example of looking at I think it's called they used to be called SAB. It's the green one. I forget the name. But if you look at the comparison of a Ferrari, a Red Bull, or Aston Martins compared to the cars that are whatever Hulkenberg drives and some of the other ones that came lower, it's just they come lower, so people don't want to put their advertising on there. So they usually have bigger advertisings that cover more of the car because it's cheaper and they have less individual amounts.
Yeah, okay. So you're correct in that I could see like big advertisements not coming into the wall, the model, the X402. To be fair, I'm looking at the original one and it's just saying things like dating, coupons, absinthe, healthcare. Like it's not even advertising a brand. It's just advertising a concept, a name, a concept, a service. I do see Xbox 360 in here. That's probably the only.
Was McDonald's on there?
I don't see it straight away. It's possible they had a small spot, but no. Usually, it's just saying things like car care, I'm just like, this one's just literally saying free. It doesn't even say what's free, but there's free hosting, web hosting, party popper, party poker, dating. Yeah, it is a bit of a flashback looking at this and being like, damn, look at all this random shit.
What things were around and what things don't exist anymore.
Yeah. So
I think it's interesting, like the concept of ideas that have worked in the past and they will continue to work.
Yeah,
as long as there's enough variety that people find that it's going to be useful and pick it up.
There was I think we talked about this a couple of years ago maybe, but a very similar concept was a similar wall but without the payments, and it was simply just internet communities, and you could, as an individual, click and change a thing to a different color, and so you as your community were trying to like dominate space on this wall and keep it, so there'd be like Colombian flags.
Was this the Reddit one or was this a different one than that?
No, it'd be the Reddit one. Yeah.
Because and that one used to get changed like so quickly as well. You'd have like people just dominate quickly, and then some other group would come in and change it all as well. So it can become popular.
Yeah. So a very similar concept. I'm also in agreement that there's a decent chance it doesn't take off, especially considering. I don't know if there's a good point or a bad point. So it's X402. So you're like, oh, it must use X402. And it does kind of beneath the surface. From what I'm aware, it doesn't really need to. Like there's no real necessary reason for using X402 other than just general payments. So I don't know exactly why you'd need to do that. And so the X402 branding is more niche, but perhaps if that nicheness of the branding goes viral, then the wall itself could have a bit more.
Yeah, I guess.
It's more about you're trying to
the X402 piece. And this is something I haven't invested much more time really into. But if you have, I think essentially there's agent to protocol that Google created. I saw another one that Microsoft was pulling out as well, which is just an agent to agent, more direct payment gateway that actually does not use the on-ramp of Visa and MasterCard, but they're using their own systems. Yeah. Is there, I guess, in that a differentiator to 402 to any of these ones if you've seen it before? Because I'm not even aware of how much of a difference it is. I know the 402 is using the existing HTTPS protocols, but what is the difference or benefits or non-benefits than using agent to protocols or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't have it on my phone. It's on the Discord. Can you get 2 Discord accounts on your phone? I don't think you can. I think it has to just be one.
I think it has to be one. Yeah.
So I can switch accounts. So I've got another account on my laptop. And one of the main things that I follow there is Daydreams, which is like a facilitator. They're kind of like building out stuff on there. And the guys just building it seems more tuned in and smart, certainly, than I am in terms of the technical details. And I think he was just saying that's more just like it's not a competitor; it's an adjacent, like it's part of the stack.
Gotcha.
So it's an addition, not a detraction or something like that. So, I'm just taking his word for it though. But
okay. So it's kind of like it would be the concept of X402 would be the entire system, and not just like an additional support. Or we're not just sure. Okay, if I listen to it, it's fairly technical. If you could go and look up HTTP protocol and X402, I'd be interested because I when you've talked to me about X402 or the concept around that, which again is just an ability to transfer through payments using HTTPS protocols and allowing an API or call to be made or not made based on a promise met from a payment perspective. Like that sounds standalone to me. And then when I hear the agent to agent protocols to allow other agents, I'm a little bit like, in my mind, I go, well, aren't they also working on like service calls between them and routing and stuff? Or is it something entirely different that I'm not understanding here?
The way I'm kind of framing this in my own mind is I think micropayments will unlock just really novel, interesting use cases for every sector of the economy. It doesn't matter what it is. I've just been using the example recently of like, if you get Netflix, you have to buy a subscription. And it's like, all right, but I don't want a subscription for everything that you have. I just want a particular movie or show. All right, what if you could just buy for a particular movie or show? What if you don't actually like it? And it's like, oh, I've just paid $10 for this thing. Okay, what if I could be streaming micropayments so that I watch 5 minutes of it. I don't like it. Okay, I only paid for how much I actually used.
Sure. Yeah.
Plenty of use cases for where you could say like, oh, but what if you accidentally leave the TV on? You're just paying for blah, blah, blah. There's all sorts of detractions and reasons why things would or wouldn't work. But I'm more just looking at the broad general sweep of, and this is why I was very into the podcasting 2.0 version, which was using the Lightning Network. Hasn't taken off really as much as I was thought it would. But I think that was like a really good concept and use case of it. And so I'm looking more at just like, okay, how are people actually using this for like the X402 Monopoly, the wall? I want to see like the things where I can kind of like look at it or play around with it, or which I think agents would
play around with. Yeah, so maybe onto that. So we've talked about podcasting 2.0 or the concept of a value for value. And value for value as a concept philosophy is different to the specific methods that podcasting 2.0 uses.
And also micropayments
and
well.
Micropayments,
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
So one, I was going to ask you about the podcasting 2.0 again. What are you seeing? Because you've mentioned previously in the past that even listening to podcasting 2.0, in general, the amount of streaming and usage seems like it's not, at least not growing. It's directionally maybe going the other way. Have they talked about much in that as a kind of reasons or thoughts behind it around that?
Not in particular around I think probably just like a bit of fatigue, I guess would just be the best way of putting it. They still get plenty of streaming, and the ones who use it, so Chris Fisher with This Week in Bitcoin, he gets a lot of boosts, and so it's really pushing it. I think the biggest thing would just be how would I put this?
Even with music, what about them in the music space as well?
Yeah, it's still just I think just still too many hurdles and barriers. I'd say
for just general consumers to use it.
Yeah. It's now just it's come up against like the network effect kind of a phenomena. It got a really good band of loyal people at the start,
but
and now it's like traction. All right, and perhaps this happens that I'm just thinking of my own like how often plateaus, they always show like the graph of the the S curve, right? But how often, if you actually zoomed in on the S curve,
how many plateaus are there in that increase?
Long plateaus are there, and especially with open source stuff, like the 402 payment required has been in HTTPS for fucking like 3 decades. I don't know, and it's only now starting to get some use, and it's getting a lot of use. And Dave and Adam talk about this, and look, podcasting 2.0 is the whole reason they started it was for the decentralization of an index. That's like the whole portion. Reason they started it, the value for value stuff and micropayments, that was like an add-on, super cool.
Yeah.
But
just a bonus, but not the core concept of it.
If you had to ask like a hosting company about podcasting 2.0, they would be very much like talking about the index itself. Like it's a real high quality index. It's got more stuff than Apple does. The filtering is better. At the moment, like probably the last couple of months has been really about filtering the AI slop that's coming in and just the amount of trash that is. They were talking about, like they were doing a little showcase of just some of the stuff that's on there. I was listening to it on the drive here, and it's very hard to also determine what is and isn't. So there's a podcast called the Swine Health Hotline, and it's like, what the fuck is that? But that was actually a legit one where it was a lady who's all about her niches. Pigs, health, what's like the latest news in the industry.
Wow.
If you need help, like call the Swine Health Hotline podcast.
Well, I'm going to be interested in how well as humans nowadays we're going to be, we're in 2026 now. And again, I still think that in 2026, there's a lot of things that will happen. Sorry, it won't happen that people are like, oh my God, AI is going to take over this. But in the long term, it will. Although, so Stephen from Stephen Bartlett, his podcast group, so I know because they've said it before in various forms. One of their podcasts they do, because they've got a grouping of them, like they run plenty. One of them is just pure AI, and I'll tell you what, I can't figure out which one it is. Like, I'll dare someone let me know which one's the one that is just pure AI. But they've got one that is just pure AI, and then he's got like a select few people to run that as an AI to try to essentially take over the diary of the CEO, which is the number one they run at the moment. I couldn't tell you.
They don't advertise in
as
it,
far as I have not noticed, and I don't listen to the rest of the group, so I'll put that out.
I mean, like, do they label it somewhere as this is an AI podcast?
And I'm not sure. Maybe, hopefully, because I haven't delved into that deep. But as much as like I consume some of their social media,
sure,
I would say I haven't seen any sign or word around it. So that's one aspect. While Karen's just looking that up as well, I also saw two things have started to come up out of OpenAI, and this is not something that was unlike. This is something that should surprise anybody. But OpenAI, which is ChatGPT for everyone at home, they've got two things at the beginning, which is ChatGPT is now having a Go tier, which is a little bit of a cheaper version than the higher end versions that people have exist. But it's $8 per month.
That one?
100 CEOs with Stephen Bartlett. Perhaps I get the newsletter of this one. Oh, created by AI. Ooh, okay. I'll be interested to see listen to it.
Give it a listen. Report back to us.
I will because I do see the newsletter. I get the newsletter for that one. So I wonder. 100 CEOs by Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah,
and it is made by AI. It says on the cover. So that's a good call. I like that.
They're not really.
They're not hiding it that it's made by AI.
No. I don't think they're making episodes. Like the last episode was in June of last year. So.
Of 2025?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Interesting. So the OpenAI one that comes out, the Go tier, but they've also ads are coming, as most people would have expected.
Yes,
ads coming through. Now, it was interesting that they've put the ad principles, and I'll just cover them quickly. They want to be not influencing individuals who are using ChatGPT to give them an answer independent. So they want answer independence. They want to keep the conversation from a privacy perspective and not give advertisers that data in terms of what you're interacting with. And they want to be, it's long-term value and choice and control in terms of what you see and you don't see. So again, their mission is to benefit humanity for AGI, but ads are coming.
Opt
Turn
out
them off
ads?
Completely? Oh, I don't know. I have no clue.
I bet you can't.
I bet you couldn't because obviously, they got them on. There's no way that you would give people an option, kind of like a meta. Hey, you get no ads. No, that doesn't get allowed because obviously they've got to make money some way. Now, this company, as everyone well knows, kind of similar like Spotify for a long time. They're running in the red very heavily. They're investing a lot of money in infrastructure and other things, data centers. But I kind of go, with aspects like that, there are reasonable reasons from open source, behaviors that I like, as in no ads, let me do my own thing. But I could see this coming like a mile away. Of course, they're going to have some sort of revenue system that's beyond just the getting people to pay for things. Now, so you were talking about, I can't remember why I brought that particular up.
Well, I was saying like one of the reasons I don't feel bad about doing that with the wall is like I'm essentially just fucking over advertisers, which I'm totally
true.
Fine
Yeah,
with.
like that. Yeah. Now, one interesting thing that I was just thinking about as well in all this kind of it's adjacent. It's similar. 50, 60 years ago, more, 100 years ago, there existed like the big old companies of probably the car manufacturers, you had your banks and a few other things. And they were like the big conglomerates. They owned a whole host of money. They had all the employees, etc. And then the transition came with technology. So then you had the FANGs, you had a Facebook, it's Meta now, you have Alphabet, you had Netflix, had all these other companies, right? Tesla. So these became Apple. All of these companies are now like the big titans, they got the big things. And I even remember talking about it on the podcast, like between us ages ago, around the concept of will these exist forever? Will these companies exist forever, or will just the general turning happen again in 50, 60 years? But the interesting thing, and I think this is incorrect, but the feeling I get is that these companies are becoming so large, consuming so much of the what's going on around us and utilization, that not fearful, but I almost get the view that are we moving so technologically maybe removed of what humans need to create more of, that they are going to become these titans, remnants. That's the only thing that exists. I don't. Someone's going to check these numbers. I don't think that 50, 60 years ago there was companies as big as whole countries, GDPs and stuff like that. I don't think that was the case. Maybe the small ones. But when you've got the likes of Nvidia being, if you compare it to a country, it's the 14th biggest country or like 10th country or something like that in terms of GDP, in terms of just collective asset allocation or asset ownage.
There were the Dutch East India.
I was going to say, maybe the Dutch East India was huge.
I'm pretty sure Carnegie's steel mills, whatever they were called,
were also
the railways. They were big, man. When the new technologies came out and the ones who won that, they were fucking behemoths.
Yeah, so it's the... Maybe this is just the same of history, but looking at it squarely, I go, okay, all of the big players right now that exist, they are investing so heavily in particular, data centers, cost of different things. I never got around to this, but if you're someone who is trying to build a computer nowadays, you need anything like RAM or anything, you're going to be paying out your ass in comparison to like last couple of years. I think maybe these numbers might be slightly off, but it's directionally right. It's like you used to pay $800 or $1,000 for a RAM stick. Now they're like $4,000, $5,000 because every single one in the world's been bought up. Like they're all like getting used in data centers. And I kind of go, all of these huge companies are investing like insane amounts of money. If you think about it from what companies have of valuation and usage, that I really don't see how anybody could now interject unless it completely shifts it to another degree or another like style of company or a marketplace. And I guess maybe I'm just so stuck in the now that I can't even imagine a different marketplace right at this moment. Like I really can't.
Yeah, I think just too stuck in the now. Just these infrastructure build-outs always happen. It's the same with like the telecom networks and stuff like that. They get super expensive, nobody can get anything until 3 years later there's a bust, and then it's like we built out way too much. They talk. People have made the same comments with the cryptocurrency networks. There's like no block space. Ethereum's going to die because there's everyone's paying gas fees, fucking $100 and stuff. And now that it's they built out so much, it's like there's too much block space. Ethereum's going to die because the same thing with Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin, like ordinals and stuff, fucking everything up, and then they go away, and then it's like nobody's using it. Like I guess this gets partly onto my consuming of diet, my media diet and things. So there's this podcast called the Crypto Critics Corner. So as a mental exercise, I like to try and poke holes in arguments of things that I believe in very strongly. And so the crypto critics, let me see if I can bring them up. They're two guys who they're a bit political for my liking, and that's like the lens that they come at it from. Cass Pianci and Bennett Tomlin are the two, and so they got decent popularity, especially during the 2022 time, SBF, plenty of things where it was like, yes, you could be very critical of crypto. And to be fair to them, they're still putting out episodes of stuff they think is fucked up. So like Trump versus Powell, murder of the Federal Reserve is one of the recent ones. The vile truth of Bitcoin. And so they go over after a lot of the arguments, and some of them they do have some nuance, which I do appreciate. A lot of it is just purely political, and I'm like, guys, like you obviously just don't like Orange Man or whatever. They're very more blue people, whatever you call them, Democrats. So going like through that and testing out those ideas. What were you talking about just before? I lost my train of thought.
I was talking about the size of the companies.
The block space. And so they were literally going over the like
too much block space.
No. Yeah, now they're like, there's no transactions on Bitcoin. It's obviously this is
None.
not good.
None.
Yeah.
Zero.
Well, transaction volume is declining. And so, I'd say there'll be new hardware companies or opportunities for new hardware companies in 3 to 5 years time when
I'm gonna stake
the excess capacity is.
I'm gonna stake my foot in the ground, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna be contrarian in this view, and I hope I'm wrong with this, but I get the tingly sensation that some of these companies are now so far in the amount of capital they have to spend that they will just buy up other companies that are coming up, and the smaller companies that are coming up, unless they're real disruptors that don't care about the money, will just allow themselves to be bought up in that pursuit. So
what's different from 20 years ago compared to now? You had the same things happening then. Like, why didn't? So
one of the different things. Yeah, sorry, that was the other thing I was going to say. So the difference that I was also saying is that in past hundreds of years, the growth of these companies also necessitated the equivalent head number to also increase to be able to create the services, do the things and the actions that they needed, where the bigger technology players in the world nowadays are, yes, they've got a lot of headcount for sure, but they're starting to reduce that headcount and still do more as they need with an agentic force. The question of, I don't know what the hell's going to happen, is if they become first movers in an agentic, more human removed workforce, and they are first movers on that, I don't know how then a human-based company or human-based individuals catch that company when they are human removed.
It'll just be one person with agents themselves.
But what I mean is when an individual out in the world doesn't have that ability to get to these agents, if you will, because they are harnessed by internal companies keeping the moat of, hey, we've got all of the data centers doing all the things. In essence, okay, so if you were an individual, I don't think this would happen, but this would be funny. If you had this crazy, brilliant idea and you're like, I've got all these agents that I can do something about and it's going to take over one of the big players out there. And so the big player goes, yeah, you know what? We're just going to keep all of the compute for ourselves. We're not giving you any. Go away. And then you have to build out your own infrastructure for it. Now, I don't think that would be ethical, but it makes me question, it'd be interesting or maybe it would move so fast that wouldn't even be able, like you wouldn't be able to keep up with all those many tendrils of people creating things and just going past certain things.
Yeah, look, I'm sure you consume more day-to-day what's happening now stuff, and I consume more history. I'm reading 2 kind of history books on technology at the moment. One, The Sovereign Individual, and the other is Read, Write, Own by Chris Dixon.
Yep.
So, the general swath is across history, tactics like that just don't work. They work temporarily, but with time, with years, with decades, that sort of stuff doesn't work.
Yeah. Chris Dixon, by the way, Chris, if you ever listen to this, Chris puts out the most brilliant articles, but it's so like sparse. Like this dude, I reckon he probably writes an article like every 6 months or 7 months, something to that effect. And I see some of this stuff from A16Z that is to do with Chris Dixon around it. Man, I wish I would put out more content. Yeah. That is brilliant articles and a good mind.
Maybe it's brilliant because he only does it once every 6 months.
Maybe. It's kind of like hearing what's not Nicolas Taleb. What's the other guy's name? Starts with an M. Brownish dude. I forget his name. Chris Williamson had him on just recently.
Brownish dude.
Yeah. if the name pops up into my mind, I'll bring it up. I'll just go quickly to the Discord because we do have a Boostagram that's come through.
Yeah.
Or do we? Yes, we do. One from Cole. But we've got a couple of streams that came through as well.
Yep.
So there was some streamings for the use of agents, and that was from the late bloomer actor. So I appreciate some of the streams coming through there. And we do have
and
one.
We just see those because they're on True Fans. I know other people stream, but
correct. And we've got
that's the one that shows up.
We've got a note here from Cole. Actually, it's a note on boosting. So he says, a note on boosting. I'm boosting less because the market is not there yet. I would rather hold my Bitcoin than send it to people who majorly only care about Bitcoin. Fountain made a smart move being identifiably the Bitcoin podcasting app. It's an on-ramp in theory, but only Bitcoiners use it. In a crude way, boosting is equivalent to Chuck E. Cheese tokens. I've grown bearish on Bitcoin as a currency. Walk me off the ledge here. 333 cent using Fountain.
So currency does imply the
transactional nature of it,
the using it of it. Once again, probably short term, that's probably the right thing, but long term, I think it being linked as a currency when it's just less volatile.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So
as long as the only reason, again, I'll say this strongly, it's a strongly held view, loosely held kind of, until it is less volatile, until it's not viewed as something that can move so dramatically with the news of the world. Fine if it's moving against a set criteria or like pegged against other things, because we're going to see money become just inflationary, and so you'd expect then the price to then match because it's keeping up to a kind of certain degree. But the volatility on itself, where news can affect it or large changes might change it, when it becomes a little bit less volatile, absolutely people would use it as a transactional method because it's more, you can be more secure, it might be easier, you can move greater amounts back and forth. I think the core reason people don't do it, again, and I've said this before, is because there is a chance that, but if I move it today, tomorrow it's going to be worth twice as much. That would absolutely detrimentally impact the ability of a currency.
Yeah. But you know what?
Like none of us think right now, the Australian dollar is a little bit stronger now than what it was 6 months. You don't think about it like that at all. You just spend.
It's definitely not stronger.
I think it's gone slightly stronger over the last couple of months. I'm talking against the US dollar. I think
I'm comparing it against reality.
Yeah.
I guess one kind of interesting thought experiment would be, when gold, would you consider gold a currency when?
Nope.
When it was fiat was backed by gold?
No.
So, because there was it's 1-to-1, but then it went to fractional reserve gold, blah, blah, blah. And we're going off the gold reserves, gold standard, stuff like that. Yeah, in that case, it was gold currency? No, it was just the underlying backing. So correct. In that case, there's an argument saying that Bitcoin's never going to be a currency because likely it would just be backing something else, which is because the actual movement of it, from what I've seen, the layer 2s on Bitcoin. So I think there's one called Stacks, there's Lightning Network, Liquid, there's people doing stuff with covenants. I haven't seen any of them working well as an actual payment mechanism. Even Lightning, I have done some payments with it. So just talking like technologically speaking, it can work.
I wonder, my brain plugging in and I'm kind of like, okay, so if I think...
sorry, just to finish off with Cole's thing. I think that's totally fine to not be boosting as well. Like I've been boosting much, much, much less. And I don't think, for me, it's not necessarily that I want to hoard the Bitcoin. It's just, honestly, I'm less bullish on using the Lightning Network, for example, or doing it via podcasting.
Yeah, I think I haven't boosted G's in a long time. And I also say, I think it's not in a lack of, I think, the idea of it and supporting others through the payment form and like that. It's better than probably what exists in most other scenarios. But in the world where information is generally free, unless you're paying for it in a way that you then don't have to consume ads, there's still very little reason to go and do that. Now, if there's channels, people, groups out there who then want to monetize particular areas of it if they give enough value, then absolutely, I would boost or pay the money in whichever way, fashion, or form. I guess I just exist in a world, in a space right now where I can consume basically everything I need for free. The supporting nature of sending something of the ones I'm consuming right now aren't asking for that. They're making monetary ways of living, I guess, in other ways. So maybe that's part of it. The other one I was just thinking was, when you think about the backing of things, so with currency, you can have a backing to gold, you can have a backing to maybe Bitcoin, something else. And this is totally out of left field, but I wonder if in future, you know, we're thinking agents, machine to machine operations and whatnot. Yep, they'll need fractional payments. I wonder if we speak language of payments and of the dollars and bills and whatever. I wonder if agents will just kind of skip that and go, well, this is no need. Like, why are you talking about any money? There's no needed. When if things become so abundant that money is meaningless, maybe the actual currency is just pure energy or electricity or literally electron transfers. So
I've talked about this a couple of times, but I still think attention, like consciousness, will be the currency. And
Current I think is on the path of attention. I'm going to skip beyond that. So something I was recently looking into from Peter.
What's beyond consciousness?
So removing the human out of that aspect, basically. Yeah. So then you could make a call. Well, then is a machine conscious in what they're doing? I'll give you an example. So did you hear about you probably are aware of the AI thing that got taken over to go from $50,000 to $1 million by advertising? I think it was Goatsy or whatever it was, the coin.
Oh, the very initial truth terminal.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So in 2024, for those who don't know, somebody created an AI that was basically just shit posting things.
It was a New Zealand guy.
Yeah, on X, and I think it was Mark Andreessen who was basically like, hey, he sent him $50,000 in Bitcoin, and this AI agent turned it into $1 million by buying into. I can't remember if it was.
Well, no. So basically, the context was some guy, because you could talk to the truth terminal. Some guy told it, hey, I've created this coin called Goatsy or token probably is the better word.
I think it would take,
and the truth terminal's like, this is it. This is the thing. I don't even know if it necessarily bought.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was. It's
or if it just endorsed and said this was the one. But then it also said the same thing about Filecoin. So now there's two.
Yeah, Mark Andreessen found it compelling, sent the agent $50,000 of a grant in Bitcoin, and then Truth Terminal began promoting the narrative around Goat. Goat's used Maximus.
Correct.
They didn't write for the coin. It simply marketed it just as much as it could.
Yeah, so I don't know if it even bought any of it.
It had bought $50,000 of the Goat token. And went from $50,000 to $1 million that the Truth Terminal held.
Okay.
It went to $800 million market cap.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Maybe it was the first AI, I don't know, the first AI millionaire. But the second bit around this was talking about the action. So as an agent, if you move things towards the action, and by that is, so the way that probably most everyone who listens to this, you would use it in the order of, how I need to do this, give me a script, or give me a email, or give me a this, or compare that, whatever. You're asking it for something and you get something in return. Maybe some people out there are using it in that agentic way. I don't know how much agents you're using nowadays in terms of, hey, go and browse this and find me the best thing, and can you make it book that, and can you call this and get it to return? Okay, I'm not even using it. No, the reason I don't do it that way is because I could use agents to post a lot of the clips that I create for YouTube. But right now, using agents through the general AI models that exist out there is actually slower than me doing it. Mm-hmm. It's faster if you do just straight end-to-end, like straight just code and script it. But I don't really see the need for me to do it. And it takes me maybe 5 minutes on a day. And it's kind of like non-plus, it's fine. Now, if it was huger, like way bigger time, sure, whatever. But the example of just skipping altogether the attention aspect is, okay, what if what Peter was saying was, you just say, no, here's $12,000. In fact, not even, just, I want to use Squarespace, or use whatever you want. Go build out a wheelchair that has fucking flamethrowers on the side, and just get it to a point that 20% of people are buying the wheelchair in 2 months. Go, and you let me know if it needs something. Now, let's just say this agent goes off, creates all the things it needs, browses databases, sends emails, responds to emails, all the various things, comes back to you in 2 months. Okay, done. Got it. And if you, as the individual in that system, weren't consciously doing anything about it, it's just this agent going about it, you could say, okay, well, yes, there's other attention. Obviously, it's seeking attention from other locations, which are, in this case, humans. I kind of get, what if we get to a world where everyone's just interacting purely through agents? Is there would you deem that still to be consciousness? Like you're gathering attention from other agents, but there's no humans in the circle. The humans probably like abstracted in that, I just want a good life, and I just want you to give me my shopping to come on Tuesday, and yep, you go and run it. But abstracted to that, there's just this ecosystem of agents kind of doing all the things, reaching out, blah, blah, blah. Is that still, do you think, an attention
There could
economy?
be. Look, we agree that animals are conscious. Do they have self-consciousness? Most of them don't, only a select few. So I guess when you're saying conscious, you're particularly talking about the self-conscious aspect. So I don't know. It's the hardest question in the world. What is actually consciousness?
Yeah, I guess that's where I like sit at the side of, I see attention being fantastic until, and we said it before, the intention economy will exist for a little bit, where it's humans actually saying, oh no, my intent is I want to go traveling and go do this. Can you get it? And then it brings you back an outcome. I almost think that even a step beyond where, yes, you might be inferring things and asking for things for an outcome, but then the system kind of operates on its own right. And I wouldn't say that that's conscious. And so because I'm not saying it's conscious, I would also say it's got no attention. It's just purely working in its own ways. And in that system, I go, well, I wonder if monetary use would become a thing, if it would be even existing anymore. It's pure just energy, electrical movement. And that's it. Like that's the fundamental movement of information. But sorry, I don't believe this other statement that I'm about to make that much, but hearing it from all these random people that I listen to, we are futurists / probably thinking things in years that are way too narrow than like what it probably will be the reality. But the whole conversation that happens in these circles is, we're going towards an abundant world. Don't even worry about money. Don't worry about what you're doing in 5, 6, 7 years. It won't matter. You won't be, the jobs that exist won't exist anymore. That, as Elon Musk said in a recent conversation, don't worry about putting money into super. You won't need it. You don't even need it for retirement. It'll all be sorted. Now, I don't believe that at such a short time span. I think that would be crazy for most people to do. But in the next 30 years, I could see that being that huge dramatic move, and then our conversation around money and Bitcoin and dollars and fiat maybe just evaporates and goes, that was a thing of the past. That's just not needed in a world where the abundance of thing is so insane that you're just talking more just the cost of having the energy to do things.
Yeah, look, I think there's always going to be a need for something linking things to reality. When you talk about abundance, as in there's just so much that you can't grow forever, because it's literally like not enough things in the universe to let you grow forever. I mean, well, look, maybe that statement's untrue because the universe expands forever. So, and this is where I get to that concept of infinity again, where I don't really believe in infinity to a certain aspect. Another story. We've talked about this before. Or at least that the human mind and things that we do, infinity has zero impact on us. Anyway, that doesn't make sense to me. That there needs to be some sort of linkage of something to reality. And when you get away from that into an unreality, like we could do this, utopia or even dystopia, things tend to break down and not work. So are the AI agents conscious? Maybe if they're just doing it in their own little world and humans just entirely step away, can they sustain themselves in that world? Is it, they could be conscious, but they could just die out really quickly as well.
There was a concept in the book I'm reading at the moment, Accelerando, where I'm only right at the beginning, but I get what it's coming from in this thread on if you start to have humans who will get uploaded into computer information. So let's just say it's someone who's 90 years old, they're about to die, and you do have the capability to upload their whole being and ideas, whatever, into computer world, and you've got that information living there. Now, they might not continue to exist in the living world, but if you then impose an AI over the top of all of this information that you've obtained from this human, conversations are going of, okay, well, would you consider that consciousness or not consciousness? If you've got every single data source from the human that existed from birth all the way through, and it then just continued acting in computer land, but with AI on top of it, is it conscious? Is it not conscious? Does it have attention? Does it not?
Yeah.
The aspect actually that it was in the book to talk about though is the rights. How do you apply rights to individuals like that and not like that? Which I think opens a conversation around AI and the conversation of rights and no rights. I don't think it'll be soon, but I'm sure at some point into the future, especially when you have people marrying AI or marrying, algorithms out there because they just like to utilize that, robots when they come along. At some point, some of this is going to have to become some sort of legality is going to be overlaid, or at least in that context, it's the human aspects of ethics and righteousness have to be applied on that. And it'll be such an interesting thing of how would you be able to stop those boundaries being crossed? I, as someone who lived in a generation where we kind of started to be raised as social media and phone technology was becoming more prevalent, I feel like when that hits, and it will hit at some point, it's going to feel like such a smack in the face that I'll feel like an old man and going like, what are you talking about? Marrying a robot? Like what the hell? You want to talk to a human? But I just think generations are going to grow up so differently with that. And in that itself will change and transpose what we think now is when we talk about currency and all those things. I could see in 20, 30 year times just the shift in mentality around this and people going, why would you ever care about money? Because now we just care about energy or something else. So yeah, I could see that happening in time with the shifting lens of ideas and everything else.
Those things are fun. I wouldn't take them too seriously as well and ponder them too deeply. I read a book by David Chalmers doing very similar things, and he went over all of a brain in the vat, is this consciousness of real life now, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of it links to philosophy, and people have discussed these things for ages. I find that when it comes to the actual nitty gritty though, that's where the actual decision matters. So for example, if you were looking at climate change 50 years ago, it wasn't climate change then. It was even before global warming. It was like the global cooling. That's what people were worried about. If I'd told someone back then, hey, you can avert global cooling by burning more coal, by
heating up the world, basically
adding more carbon to the atmosphere, is that a good thing? If you said that to someone now, it'd be like, no, pollution, bad. If you sold someone then that, it'd be like, ethically good, add more carbon. Yes, we should intentionally burn things or intentionally add more carbon to the atmosphere.
Or sweat more. Sweat.
Does that produce carbon? I'm not sure. That would have been the ethical thing to do with the prevailing knowledge of the time. Now, as it goes on, and then there's more linkages to carbon's actually having these proven detrimental effects of actually heating the atmosphere, trapping gases or trapping heat, and raising temperatures. Oh, okay, now there's a bad thing. And same with the CFCs and the ozone hole. Maybe at some point it would have been a good idea to put CFCs in I think chlorofluorocarbons into the atmosphere. So when it comes to uploading this person, are they a real thing or not? Well, I mean, if they're just a database and they're not actually doing anything, it's just a snapshot of a person's brain, and they're not then actually interacting with the world, can they feel pain? I don't know. That's a kind of important component when it comes to deciding legality of things and stuff like that. So these books and these things, I think they're fun, but I also wouldn't. How would I say it? I'd view them more as entertainment rather than pure philosophy, as this is how I'm going to live my life or think about things.
Yeah, it also it changes my view on some things, in the sense of there's short-term and long-term planning of whatever, and long-term planning that is centered around what you care about, what you value, things like that. I don't think it ever changes, because as much as the world might change, if that's what you hold dear and true, etc., then it does, you can shift along with what's needed. But there's certain ethics and values and things that you hold as kind of like truth out there. Awesome, fine, that doesn't change. But it does shift my perspective on thinking or setting goals around things like maybe just externally focused that can and probably will definitely change, and going, okay, I probably should just let that go, in the sense of it being a long-term goal, because I just have no influence on how much the world might change. And so like an example of that might be, if I was to say, not that this isn't a goal, but if I was to say, I want to create a long-lasting, a great rubbish company that picks up rubbish for people and cares about my employees and the humans that are there, and I want it to be here for 100 years. Again, who knows what the hell's going to happen in 100 years? I feel like that would be putting myself in the crosshairs of some problems come time. Obviously, it's not one of my goals, and much more of my goals are more internally focused, value-driven, as opposed to maybe what anything externally can do. But any of those goals, I would say, if you want to do them, the shorter the better. I'd almost say, like, set yourself as shorter-term goals that are achievable within the domain that we live in. But there's also a thing of just the rate of change of just things in general are going to go so quick. I've got this debate with my wife around, will our daughters have to learn how to drive? Will our daughters go to high school? Will our daughters go either? Will universities exist by that time? Would they even have to go to high school? I lean towards more of a view of like, they're not going to ever need to learn how to drive. University are probably going to get absolutely obliterated by then. I don't know about high schools. I don't know. But aspects of that, I was talking to some friends just recently about, some of them are like, oh, we're going to send our kids to this particular school. I think it's $50,000 per year.
Yeah.
The cost of the school. And they're like, it's going to be amazing for high school. And they do this in year 11 and 12. And in my mind, part of me was going, man, you don't know, like, who knows what the hell's going to happen in 12 years, 15 years time. And I could very well see things being absolutely disturbed, like ridiculously so. I don't know by how much, but to set my sights on, if I was to say, I want my daughter to have this ATAR or OP or score basically out of a ranking in 15 years time, and so what do I have to set up now? That is a recipe for fucking getting yourself fucked up by whatever happens in the world. And I don't think you could say that 100 years ago. 100 years ago, I think you could have been very well into say like, 20 years from now, that will still be, and it was for a long time, where I could see that very quickly changing in that aspect, or at least that's my take on those things as well. The rates of people going into university even right now are like dropping like crazy. School doesn't change, but university massively dropping.
Yeah. I reckon you should give a try to some more like history books, because it does change your perspective on just time as well. So the sovereign individual, it's starting off like way back in the Roman days, and it's kind of like going forward. And it's very hard to kind of pass in a way, because as you were saying that, I'm like, and I was thinking just before, now is probably one of the hardest times where it's like decision making of, especially the decision of, okay, I've got a lot of tools where it's, if I invest 5 hours now, it can save me, 10 hours per year. Is that a good investment of time? So when I think of that, there's multiple things that come to mind. My workout books, I write them out by hand, and then I manually transfer all of that data over into an Excel sheet. Is there a way where if I, spent the time to like fucking find the right thing or change the way that I write out the data manually to then be able to automate that, and so therefore save myself some time? I think there is, but how, is it enough? And then I could say the same thing about like cooking stuff, of planning workouts, of, I'm spending a lot of time researching things. Should I create an algorithm that can get all of the things that I've created to then give me a curated list so that it's filtering out more? I think we're at this point now where it's, is there more opportunities of that compared to, let's just say, a 1500s peasant who they did they have these same opportunities of time saving or potential time saving? Some of me says, yes, now's the time. Like, there's just so much more things where tools like that you could use. And then part of me is also like, yeah, even at that time, there was like technology breakthroughs of, gunpowder. How could I move into this new profession then?
Maybe, but it's different rates, right? So if you take the concept of Moore's law, something like a Moore's law didn't exist ever, right? What's a historical example of something like a Moore's law? At that rate of change.
Well, I mean, the populations of humans going from small,
but still not the same rate as Moore's law, right? Like Moore's law is literally doubling every 18 months.
Yeah,
that rate of doubling every 18 months or halving every 18 months, that rate of change hasn't existed prior.
I don't know. That's worth a question.
Because my take is,
I feel there'd be other technologies that had
the rate of information or the rate of change. So again, Moore's law, I think it's every 18 months. I can't remember exactly. I don't think it's per year. I think it's every 18 months. The halving of the sizing or the compute power that you can have per centimeters squared or some shit like that. I don't assume that rate has existed before. And there are other changes that I could see happening, which maybe even supersede that rate. Again, the uptake of mobile phones in comparison to the uptake of internet, to the uptake of software like OpenAI's ChatGPT and others, the ChatGPTs of the world, and that the rate of uptake per humanity usage has been faster than ever before. So that rate of change, speed, being it faster than what it used to be, I get the historical context of things moving, but when it can be compressed into so much shorter time because of the rate of information, I go, again, history doesn't rhyme. The way that people interact do, but I don't see that there is a comparison to the rate of change that has existed now in the world before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's listening, if you've got an example, it doesn't actually even have to be the exact direct example, but like a very quick...
There could be. I would say something like the abilities, the amount of distance traveled by humans, for example. So, when we're stuck with just horses and then the automobiles came along, the amount of distance that the humanity was traveling, I think that would probably be... similar to the Moore's law growth, so because you're using a bit of an abstract concept of, okay, we're just talking about transistors on a silicon chip. Yep. How does that actually apply to the real world? Well, it does. You're able to do a lot of different things, but it takes a while for those things. So I would say something like, the automobile invention would have a very similar effect of, okay, you can travel ridiculous distances now.
I guess, but again,
technology, Gutenberg, so the amount of like pages that people were, probably the amount of people who learned to read, that would have been doubling every 18 months. I think that's probably true. Textile manufacturing, it says transportation speed here, communication speed, metal production was also similar, that in 1700 it was 100 tons annually.
But again, I'd say 100 times annually.
Yeah, in 100,000 tons annually. By 1800 it was 1 million tons. So what's that? 100 years divided by that's only 10x, but yeah.
Yeah, so 10x after 100 years.
But yeah, communication speed, transportation speed, textile manufacturing, and printing. I think all of those had pretty profound.
I think they'd be comparable, but again, that doesn't seem to me like it's the rate of change is the same. You know what I mean? Like the rate of change of that.
Read some history books, cunt.
I don't know. Like if someone wants to see, like, do the maths behind it, I don't think the rate of change is the same. Like I don't think the rate of change of information or things that are happening today has ever really been matched, and there was bursts of it, and it maybe in a historical context, when you look back at it, it might be like, oh yeah, like the Gutenberg or the, like saying the horse to the automobile transition. Again, we're talking 1870s through to the 1920s after Henry Ford got the T Ford and you got all the other cars that come through. But again, the evolution of cars and it continued on through all the way to today, right? Still going through with electrics. Again, whatever. You got 100 and let's just say it's 40, 50 years in that transition between horses to carts and cars for people to roll around, which I'm for certain for people then, man, the rate of change would have been huge of those transitions. But I don't think because putting yourself in that position, the change would have been dramatic. It still isn't the same as the rate of change that is now, in that the rate of change or the power law that is being seen at the moment is still quicker than whatever has been experienced before. So then part of me goes, okay, if whatever has been able to be built out, made, active, engaged in the last 10 years, let's just say, if maybe Moore's law stops, maybe something else comes up in a power law or exponential law that comes forward, I go, does that rate of change mean things move at such a quick pace again? So, any of those things that you mentioned, they may have been over 100 years or over 50 years. Now we've seen changes happen ridiculously over 20 years, 10 years. Fast forward to maybe another big leap happening in 15, 20 years, and it's like, oh, things dramatically change in a year, 6 months, 2 months. Okay, that's where I go, wow, okay, that rate of change would be, again, not something that we've experienced before. We've experienced changes and rates of changes, but not at increasing speeds to that effect. And again, the ability for someone like me to keep up with a rate of change that would be faster, I just go, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to compute it. Maybe generations who are younger than us do it because that becomes a new norm, and to them, that's the new norm and things change that quickly. Maybe that's why I'm led to think things like universities will just be a thing that moves on, or they have to transition somehow because the expectations at the time in maybe 20 years time will be, oh no, the rate of information has to be so quick or so ridiculously absorbed in whatever way, or the context of humanity's working is so different that I go, I don't know if it'll stand that test of time in the way that we think it will be, or maybe it'll look different to what I think it'll be. I'll caveat all this. I think I'm listening and reading to a ton of futurist things. Man, everything I'm reading nowadays and listening to is either by a lot of people who are building a lot of these new things that are coming out. There's a lot of futurist material that I'm plugging into. That's definitely influencing my current view. I'm in the heavy camp of futurist things going quickly, and any dates and things I've been saying, I've been trying to temper them down because these people are like even heavier. So I go, I don't see it being that quick, but man, do I see things happening and changing and
yeah, I just think like,
time.
Let's compare 10 years ago. What's that different right now from 10 years ago? We've got a bunch of technology and shit in here, like lights and things. We might not have had them 10 years ago. They're available, or versions of them, but they're just cheaper now.
Consumer, exactly. What's the difference for the consumer? It's been cost, and the cost has been driven by things like Moore's law, by the abundancy speed of it. So I think I was talking about this with like a TV, right? A TV that a 70-inch or an 80-inch TV in 2016, we could probably look it up. Man, it would have been like thousands of dollars and being like, what the hell? Now you can buy those for a tenth of the cost in your local Aldi. And it's just as good. The improvement in maybe quality and functionality does exist in more expensive TVs. However, the cost of those things have dropped down by, let's just say, by a factor of 10. Again, if you then think, if that rate holds, imagine that rate holding, and you go, okay, well, if in another 10 years, everything goes down by another factor of 10, you could be buying new things that are functionally better or doing better things. But if a laptop that we have in front of us is $100 and a camera is $20 of the same technology and the same type of behavior and quality that we have today, I could see that being a big differentiator in other things if it's that abundant or that easy to obtain.
Yeah.
But maybe not because it still needs the drive of someone to actually take the chance and get the thing. Even if it becomes nothing free, there's still a bit of a detractor. I've got lots of availability in my life. Even so, like, and I've said this before on the podcast, I use my laptop less and less and less in terms of there's all these big and wonderful things that one can do on the internet and options and things to do. And I just, as time goes on for me, I use less and less things. As in, like, I literally open my laptop, I look at my spreadsheet, I use AI for filling some types throughout the day. Besides that, maybe some YouTube on the laptop. That's it. That's all my laptop gets used for. There's not. It's used also for photo storage. I like transfer storage from my phone into the laptop. That's it. Oh, and editing and stuff for the podcast. But from a consuming internet stuff, it has definitely decreased. So even though availability of things on the internet for entertainment or engagement has increased, my personal interaction with it has decreased to a hell of a lot. I find, like, say, when you talk about the Monopoly experiment or the X402, I find it interesting, and again, definitely just a phase of life where I'm in now. My mental position kind of goes like, meh. Like, I don't care. I don't care about finding out some other new interesting things, which is one, the phase I'm in right now in life, and two, I wonder if that is the exact mentality which will then make me think, oh shit, things are just moving way beyond, because I'm just not plugged in. I'm just not connected in with the speed of things that are happening. And at some point, I'm sure I'll look at some news or look at the latest and greatest that are happening in X402, other payment systems, even in crypto, actually, I would say, where 2021, 2022, I was, reading white papers and seeing what's happening. I haven't consumed anything around crypto at all. So whether it be tokens, whether it be, I know the Bitcoin price, but I don't really look at it, and Ethereum price, but I don't really look at anything else. So unless something like really drastically changed, I'm sure I'm going to look into, someone will tell me something in 6 months and I'll be like, whoa, I didn't even know that was happening. And of course I wouldn't, because I'm just not connected to it anymore. So I think it is dependent as well, what I'm saying, of the rate of change in like how much I'm consuming and connecting in with whatever the hell is happening. Like we both even couldn't even comment on things around TikTok. I remember looking at TikTok in 2022 and when we were posting some stuff on the podcast, and I could probably tell you what I think has been happening in TikTok, but I have no clue what TikTok's like these days in terms of what's the general trend of consumption, like what's hot and popular. Is there a lot of TikTok shopping and buying that happens in that platform? I don't know. And so maybe one day someone will tell me, oh yeah, everyone buys there with fucking Dinkadonk token coins and you have to, shake your booty for 10 seconds to get this, and everyone does it. I'll be like, what do you mean? Like, that's not, and I'll just be like, that's because I'm out of the loop of it. And maybe the rate of change, like you're saying, historically, maybe as similar to us conceptually as it was back then, but I'm just not paying attention. And so it feels like it's changed so dramatically that I don't understand that anymore.
Yeah, it's very subjective. How do you measure rate of change? It's got to be something tied to the real world. So yes, if we're talking about consumer goods, electronics, variability of things that one could buy, absolutely. The 1500s peasant had maybe 5 things they could buy, at the local market, or like 50. Whereas we've got absolutely unlimited access to all sorts of things around the world. So in that case, yes, I think the magnitude of the change of feeling, okay, like the church is, Protestantism, I don't know how you'd say that, is sweeping and the Catholic Church is like losing power. That would have felt like a huge, huge deal. And they were talking in the book of, it's kind of hard to know because like they're putting themselves in the mindset of a peasant. It's like, and they used to talk about symbolism a lot more of the hatred is that which fills one's heart after. It was talking about like someone committing a crime, going to jail, and it wasn't like they committed a crime and they go to jail. It was like the hatred in their hearts evoked envy, which was a lustrous desire similar to Adam or Eve when she blah blah blah. And so they used all this symbolism. So the feeling of rate of change it's a tricky one. And I also just wonder, it's like you just got to be tuned in. I'm sure there was peasants who were just chilling out. My grandfather did it this way. He owned this piece of land. I'm going to keep using the same plow. Whereas someone who's a bit more entrepreneurial is like, I want to get ahead. Like if I can save a couple hours per day doing this, or start a side business of handicraft or something. I think that's all pretty similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is there any other comments in the
a couple
tube
ones.
to talk
So
to?
I see there's a bigger possibility of AI replacing governments than Bitcoin becoming a currency, says Cole. I want to read the network state.
I would oppose that thought. That in first, I think we're going to see companies overtake countries altogether. I see it more as the power will go to like the giant companies than it will to the countries per se, in that they will be more influential than the other way around. And then who knows on future based AIs or anything like that. But if you have the likes of I'll just get Nvidia, Meta, let's say Tesla, and alongside with SpaceX, if you've got these companies that are basically 50-60% of the entire economy of the US, as an example, or let's pick another country where it's maybe less as rigorous or legally abiding, where they kind of go, hey, you're going to do exactly what I say because I'm fucking the bee's knees and I got all the money. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do much. Now, sure, politically and legally, there's probably some nice restraints that can happen, but I feel like it'll be like a pseudo company countries before AI ever hits the ruling of humanity as a whole.
The sovereign individuals making a whole argument that the governments will collapse, or not perhaps collapse, but lose importance and relevance and power, much like the church did with the Gutenberg printing press. So that wasn't a takeover by the printing press or anything. It was just like it just diminished in power. So perhaps even like
I think that as long as
AI replaces governments, it's just governments are less.
Yeah, but I think it's got to be a dislocation from the government in its generalization is a growth sector, as in it's a growth company that don't plain to say normally see countries out there or governments wanting to be smaller or wanting to do less things. They generally want to do more. They kind of move towards winning more and more control and more abidance and more support and more governance, all of those sort of things. That's like a default from a government perspective. They want to do more governance. Unless a government out there decides to do less governing and allow more freedom to an individual to do things, which again, I don't know. I don't know an example of that in today's world.
Well, allowing's the, I think, wrong word to use. Whether it happens, like they're not going to, they don't want to allow anyone to do anything that takes away their power.
Yeah,
as a
so I think
their power.
Yeah, so I think the systems will, in my mind, the systems will change towards the big companies that may offer separate streams, services, rails, supports, whatever, that maybe are competitors to the government's services and supports, but maybe they do it slightly better in a privatized way, and governments basically go, okay, I'm going to allow this to happen because whatever. Like a
Once
random
again, allow is a
like a random example would be
word.
If Meta just decided how I'm going to be doing fucking hospitals or I'm going to be doing healthcare, right? And they did it better than the government did it, and so you as an individual go, well, fuck it, I'm not going to pay you any money. I'm going to completely opt out of that system, and I'm going to pay this company to do it because they're doing it better. And again, you're getting a service for maybe a better money. I could see that dislocating away from government, and with such power and money or control from a big company, the government being like, okay, we're going to have to just allow that or abide by this because whatever. They're just too powerful or too ruling to do it otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
yeah, we'll see.
The AI thing ruling from a government perspective, I think if we got to that, there wouldn't be government. Like there wouldn't be government anymore in the way that we think about it. It's a different thing altogether.
There is some country in Europe which has an AI minister.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
So yeah, and then Joey says, Lucas is like, my boy, what up? And Lucas, I got an 18-second one arm the other day.
18,
as in
1-8.
Yeah, that was wild. And then Joey comes in with, I think the Aussie dollar is stronger against the euro since mid-25.
It is. It's stronger against the euro, Australian, euro, US, Japan, German, all of them, basically. It's gone up by about 15 cents to the US dollar.
Is it stronger against itself or the Australian economy or reality? I would say no. But that's because it's just always printing money, man.
No, I think that
debasement always
I
happens.
think when power, I think when the concept of the power, it actually means the buying power. And so the buying power of a user or like an individual is usually buying from an exported place. So then there's more power to it.
Yeah,
But I think that's more just the economy as a whole is more inflationary than anything that we believe in from a, yes, we're getting more power against a more inflated economy anyways. It's costing things more than what it was before. So yes, it's gone up, but relative into a system that's inflated itself anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I think we'll leave there. Me and more lines. Thank you very much for joining us. 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on a Sunday if you want to join us as well, which we've got a couple of people on here as well.
Yeah.
That has been the Meandering session. Again, if you want to support, you can do that through various methods. Value for value methods. You can use things like Fountain out there and send through a Boostagram. You can leave some comments, interact, subscribe, share with people. It's always good stuff. We'll leave it there now. Be well. Me and more lines. Juan out.
Current out.
Good. Bye.